Hey, Fly Girl. I'm René Vengelstork, Aviation CEO, FAA board alum, and high performance coach. Whether you're chasing your first discovery flight or leading at 40,000 feet, this show is your runway for bold career moves, real mentorship, and stories from women rewriting their flight plan. From the cockpit to the control tower, we're building the future of aviation one fly girl at a time. Welcome to the Fly Girls Guide podcast. We are making history today on the Fly Girls Guide to Aviation podcast. My dear friend, Amy Spowart, is on with me today. She is the CEO of the National Aeronautic Association. But really, Amy, welcome. And what I want to talk to you today about is your career as a historian in this industry.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so excited to be here, Renee. Thank you so much for having me. And a little untraditional in the aviation space. So really happy to be here and talk about being a historian in aviation.
Okay, so let's start with history. How did you get involved in this and kind of take us through what that's looked like over your career?
Yeah, it's actually a little unusual because I was attending Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio with, I was really focused on being a 20th century historian, but then I got bit by this bug that made me want to go further and further back. And so I actually did my degree in classics, which is the study of Rome and Greece and the foundations of Western civilization. And what that gives you is this idea to always try to understand where things come from. A lot of lawyers and doctors take classics classes so that they can understand where things come from. So during that time, I met Mike Jackson, who was the executive director of the National Aviation Hall of Fame. And he said, "I've got some people I want you to meet." So he was like, "Come to our enshrinement." This was in 1999, and I'm going to introduce you to some people. So it was kind of a big deal because in 1999, I hung out with John Glenn and Neil Armstrong and some really amazing people. And the more and more I volunteered at the Hall of Fame, I realized that my passion for understanding where things came from completely aligned with aviation, because how we figure out how the future of aviation looks and how people get that drive to be truly innovative comes from their desire to build on the shoulders of giants, as we always say, and build on what's been done. So it's just, to me, it's very progressive. It all fits together, but it is a little bit of an unusual career in aviation.
So, if I'm hearing you right, you are pulling from the past and really celebrating the past in order to drive forward innovation in the future, kind of preserve the past so that people can learn from others' mistakes, from others' endeavors, from others' life work, how to take aviation to new heights, if you will, in the future.
100%. I mean, not aviation related, but I think of Milton Hershey, who has this fantastic story of failure after failure after failure. And Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's, there's a food theme here, but failure after failure. And the Wright brothers, they couldn't figure it out. If you've read the book by David McCullough, the Wright brothers, they built the whole initial aircraft believing that wings would be twisted one way, and when they tried to fly the plane, the Wright Flyer rather, they discovered that that the whole theory of how a wing would work, how the blades would work, was opposite, and they had to start from scratch. And they were frustrated, but they didn't give up. And so whether it's Orville and Wilbur or Kelly Johnson or Dale Clapmeyer, or the folks who are Blake Scholl building XB-1, the next supersonic commercial aircraft. I mean, there's going to be failures. And what we learn from history is that those people who change the world don't give up.
Oh, I love that. And what a good motto for our industry as a whole. So tell me what you do on a day-to-day basis in preserving history.
Oh gosh. So, running a nonprofit is hard, but I'm thrilled and really honored to be the president and CEO of the National Aeronautic Association. We're in our 100th and 20th year. Back when we were founded by the Wright brothers and all the initial people of aviation, um, we knew that aviation would have a future. We knew at the National Aeronautic Association that this powerful human tool was going to change humanity. And so the whole foundation of the NAA was to recognize and drive that continuous innovation. So on a daily basis, what we have at this moment, this iteration of the National Aeronautic Association, is that we recognize achievements. We use those to inspire further achievements. We also celebrate America's aviation records. We certify and we champion those. And again, that makes pilots go faster, aircraft mates stronger. So we get to really, truly recognize the best of the best. And then we also serve as an umbrella organization for all of aviation, the frenemies. So your Boeing and your Airbus and your Gulfstream and your Embraer and Bombardier, they're all our members, and they're all united under the NAA to promote the future of aviation together.
So you're doing a lot of collaboration on a day-to-day basis.
When I was preparing for this talk with you, Renee, the word collaboration comes up in my lexicon over and over and over again. I seek ways for the for-profits, the nonprofits, everybody to work together so that we can really ensure that the Lake Shoals have a launching pad, the Jobies, the Archers, like everything you can think about what the future is going to look like. How can the NAA promote and help launch that?
Well, let's talk about the award that you give.
So we give about 8 awards, but the
Okay.
coolest one, not the coolest one, that's not very nice to say, is it? The most coveted award in aviation is the Robert J. Collier Trophy. The first time that was given out was 1911, and I believe it was to Glenn Curtis. And the cool thing about the Colliers, so that's like 113 years or something like that, but it certainly serves as a timeline of aviation greatness. So if you're in the National Air and Space Museum and you see the Collier Trophy, which is 5 feet tall, 700 pounds, because it's just built on platform upon platform, that shows or has a citation of all these tremendous aviation achievements. It's just mind-boggling. And to be a part of the Collier selection, to be a part of that presentation, it's goosebumps. It's like, it's the most wonderful time of the year at the National Aeronautic Association. And I love that if you Google it, if you go on right now and Google the most coveted aviation recognition, the Collier comes up. It's number 2 after some ICAO award, whatever that is.
So tell me what that selection looks like. You get to be a part of this. You kind of get to drive it and organize it. You probably know ahead of time who the winner is. What does that look like from a logistical standpoint? Managing nominations. I know when you were at the National Aviation Hall of Fame, you pulled me into some of the nominations for people who would be part of that. And that was really exciting. And we were considering some absolutely incredible contributors to aviation for that. I imagine the Collier's even more intense.
It's so intense because, and I love something you said. I'm sure I'll come to it because I'm like, oh, I never know who's going to get it. I don't have a clue. And I'm always surprised and shocked every year. I'm never disappointed because by the time we get to the point, I want them all to win. So what happens is that certain NAA members, certain corporate members get automatic seats. And then the rest of the group is made up of a diversity from across the industry without ties to any of the nominees. um, they gather in person in a room in Washington D.C. There's between 40 and 50 voters, and they're all I use I pick everyone's seats so people are beside people they don't know because that helps the conversation. But this selection takes about 4 to 5 hours, and it begins with whichever entities have made it to the final round. They actually do an in-person presentation for 10 minutes, and they are blasted with questions for 20 minutes. And like, so you have CEOs and their hands are sweating and they're like really pushed to the limit. It's so much fun for the voters, I think. But then after all the presentations take place, I mean, it's very serious business with lots of questions, lots of debate, a lot of emotion, and then there's a vote. And there might be another round if nobody gets a 60% of the vote. And we could have several rounds of voting. It's just intense, and at the end, I feel like I could sleep a week.
But then you do a presentation, you do a lot of press and all of that. Talk about what some of your actual responsibilities are in the promotion of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part is choosing that selection committee and keeping it completely secret. Nobody knows who's going to be in that room until they all get in the room. I'm the only person who knows. So, and that's by design to discourage lobbying because the integrity of our awards are everything. So we have to ensure that everything's fair and balanced. So once the Collier selection is selected, I go completely into event planning mode. Because if it's selected in March, we only have until June to find a place, to choose a menu, to do all the things, send out invitations. So it's a very quick turnaround. It's a very stressful season for the NAA because that's the other thing. We have a global mission and we have a staff. Well, now we have a staff of 2 people and 2 contractors. So it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding. It's so exciting, and it's so I like it because unlike any position I've ever held before, I won't be known for this position, and that's okay because at the end of the day, all people that have been a part of this organization will morph and I don't want to say lose themselves, but become one with driving the future. Like, it's such a higher calling if you truly believe in the game changer that aviation is. It's exciting, it's powerful, it's moving, and it's beneficial for the industry.
Wow. What would you say has been the most challenging thing that you've faced in, it doesn't have to be just in this job, but in aviation as an historian?
Um,
Hey, friends, are you dreaming of a career in aviation or ready to level up the one you've already started? Whether you're a student, a career changer, or a seasoned pro, you are invited to our free virtual aviation career fair happening November 5th. Meet recruiters from top aviation companies, explore career paths you never knew existed, and even sign up for interviews. It's completely free, but space is limited. Register now at weareflygirls.com/careers and take off toward your future in aviation.
that's a really good question. As a historian, because if you say as a woman, I could answer that all day long. But
It's why I asked you the harder
I
question.
know it's great. As a historian, I think that I think you know being in Washington D.C. It's great because because of the proximity to the Smithsonian, having the leadership of the National Air and Space Museum often a part of what we're doing gives us legitimacy, authority. But I would think that maybe outside of Washington D.C., I'm not sure people appreciate how aviation has evolved and what aviation can do for the future. And that's what historians really um, that's what's really important to a historian, I think, is to really hope to encourage people to understand the past not as just meaningless people or dates, but that they can build on that and find inspiration and hopefully do something better with it.
So perhaps it's helping people to create a vision for the future by looking at the past. It sounds like that's the constant tension in your job for you.
Sure, sure. I mean, okay, Renee, I'm going to throw it to you then. So how does the history of aviation influence or impact what you do on a day to day?
I think a lot of the things that we do are pulling on the knowledge bank of the people who came before us, right? So I look at selling planes. I'm wanting to speak with a mechanic for my pre-purchase inspection who has history with that manufacturer, with that model. And that knowledge, if it hasn't been transferred from the original generation of mechanics to the current generation of mechanics, we lose some of the intricacies, some of the worries about certain things with certain airframes, whether it's a design flaw or an idiosyncrasy with how you apply the brakes. If you don't have that knowledge transfer, you miss things, and it's a less safe industry overall from a private jet sales standpoint. Not to mention all the things that go into designing and engineering new aircraft and new ways of conducting business based on new technology that we have in the airplanes, in air traffic control, in maintenance facilities, etc.
Love it. I love it. See, history goes all through. Every career in aviation is impacted by not just the grand history I'm talking about, like the Wright brothers, but yeah, like the history of safety. I mean, how can we make things safer if we're not understanding where we've been and why SMS was created, why Robert Sumwalt is a genius, etc., etc.
I love Robert.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how often he's coming up in my podcasts. Very interesting to me.
He's amazing.
Um, what qualities do you think are important in someone who might be your successor?
I love this question so much. Again, in preparation of this, I did a lot of kind of soul searching and a question that maybe had been considered is something along the lines of how people misunderstand the role, or and I think that goes hand in hand to my successor. You have to be completely authentic. And that's what I want for the National Aeronautic Association, for the National Aviation Hall of Fame, for breaking down barriers, for all the aviation nonprofits that we love so much, is to have authentic leaders who truly care about people, who are genuinely interested in connecting people, in collaboration, and building foundations of relationships that ensure that the mission can carry on. And I'm not just talking from a funding standpoint, but from a membership standpoint, from a succession standpoint. You have to be able to give up self and do it authentically for nonprofits to succeed and survive.
Oh, that's so good. If there's something that you could have arranged differently in your career path, what would it be? Would you have done one thing before another, or would you have um, looked for advancement earlier? I'm curious to know what you think, kind of looking back, that you could have done that would have been more impactful or maybe even less stressful for you.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, I, being a part of the FAA Women in Aviation Advisory Board changed my life. And I say that to people, and I say it in every panel and every conversation, because there's no way to express the amount of gratitude. And what the 29 other women did, the 28 if we're counting ourselves, the friendships, the bonds, the sponsorship that allowed me to be brave and make decisions that before then had been really challenging. It's not that I could go back in time and join that board sooner, but what I learned from that board and what I wish I would have done sooner is to trust my stuff. And when a man was being inappropriate, or when a boss was, male or female, was being overtaxing, I just wish I didn't put up with people's stuff. Like that's what I wish I would have done, and I don't know how I could have learned it, because I learned it from all of you. But I wish there was a way to empower people, male and female, who are coming into aviation to believe in themselves. And I'm not sure, maybe you have some advice. How do you do that? How do you find that? How do you get that, what the WEAB gave me earlier? Because I don't know where I could have gotten it from.
Yeah, I think it goes to looking for people to align yourself with who have similar values, even if you have to go outside of your organization and do some volunteer work to find that. I think I think that's what we all found in that board that we sat on together. We found like-minded, very selfless, valued women, all women on that board, looking to get into something bigger than themselves. And that's been a theme that you've mentioned throughout this podcast recording. And I think that it's something that, knowing you for half a dozen years now, I can say, yes, that is true of your character.
Yeah. How to find that sooner, though, I don't know.
Volunteer. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I hear from the younger women who are doing great things, is that they're getting out and volunteering and giving their time and their energy, which is
Oh, I love it.
just absolutely incredible. Amy, I know that you've been able to travel all over the world, in this position and other positions, and you've met an unbelievable amount of people. I wonder if there's someone that's really stood out as impressive that you've met in all of your work. And if you don't want to name a name, tell me why they're impressive.
Oh, I'll give you a name. Okay. Well, okay. I'm gonna say two, even though you only asked for one. I'm gonna say that one of the most incredible, nicest, most impactful people I ever met was Robin Olds, the World War II, Vietnam, Korea War pilot who was. If you don't know his history, check him out. I couldn't possibly list it all here, but like, just a pilot's pilot, just loved flying the aircraft. And when I had the chance to do oral histories in 2001 of Scott Crossfield and Neil Armstrong and Chuck Yeager and General Olds and Fitz Fulton and all these amazing people, Robin Olds wrote me a thank you note, which I still have. And he was just such a classy guy. But today I would say Joan Sullivan Garrett, without a doubt. Talk about a woman who just was moved in her role in aviation to create something that totally changed. She absolutely impacted and changed aviation with her life-saving MedLink invention, discovery, and that millions of people around the world have had their lives saved because of what she was moved to create is mind-boggling. Like, how do we all do that? How do we all trust our stuff and dig deep and have that aha moment and trust it? It's amazing. I love her.
Well, I hope that everyone who's listening experiences that aha moment and is able to do something small or large to push aviation into the future in a more brilliant way than we ever could have imagined. Amy, thank you so much for participating in the podcast.
Thanks, René.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. For additional resources, head over to flygirlsguide.com. If you're inspired to pursue a path in aviation or want to support the women who do, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if today's conversation sparked something for you, share it with a friend. It's one of the best ways to grow the Fly Girls Guide community. Until next time.